Hi, Mel,
Hi, Saria.
and hi to all our community and our viewers. Welcome. In this segment of Take Your Cue, Mel and I are going to be discussing trust and why it's so important to cultivate trust within our, teams and organisations, and why it's important for leaders to be thinking about how they can also build trust. So over to you, Mel. Why is trust important?
There are a multitude of reasons why, but I see trust as being the absolute foundations. You can't build a house unless you've got strong foundations. Because depending on how many levels you go and how expansive the home is, you need the strength and the engineering needs to be right. So that's what trust is for me. It's at the core. And I think my curiosity with trust started, oh gosh, I feel like saying 2 decades ago, but let's just do that quietly. When I was given a book to read about the glue that holds teams together. And we have spent, there's been interest around trust over probably the last 5 years. But prior to that, we spent 10 to 15 years not worrying about it. And we're certainly seeing things like psychological safety becoming really important and a trend at the moment. So trust for me is the foundation. It's the glue that holds it all together.
Great, Mel. And do you have a tip around how to cultivate trust?
Well, it's a really big topic. So as I think you've said as well to me, Mel, how can I come up with just one tip? Because it's not one thing, there's a multitude of things. So I would say my one tip is let's just start with some of the basics for trust. And for me, some of the basics are around things like you need to be open and transparent. So people need to feel that what you're telling them is absolutely everything, that you're not hiding something. Because when that happens, when people feel like you're not open and transparent, you can recall these meetings where you go and there's this gut telling you, this gut feeling saying, there's more here. And then when you think you're not hearing everything, you start to distrust or you start to not believe what's being said. So being open and transparent is really important to being believable. And I think just quickly, if I can throw in this, you've got to be consistent as well. It can't be something you do once or you do once every now and then. You've got to consistently be that open and transparent leaders so that people feel like, okay, you've got my back. I don't have to second guess myself. I feel that I can be open with you and tell you anything. So that's my one tip of many tips. Saria, are you able to give us just one tip in this session?
Well, Mel, you know how much I struggled to come up with one tip for today's segment because it is such a big topic to unpack, and it's one that I'm particularly passionate about. But I guess one that lends itself nicely to transparency, Mel, is being able to suspend our judgment. We've all been there when we're going to a meeting where we know what perspective we want to be pushing or what agenda. We're also making assumptions about the other person's perspective and that what they want to get out of that meeting. But again, coming in with your own lens, I suppose, to a meeting only erodes trust. So my top tip for today is really just to pause your judgment and make sure that we're suspending it so that we come and we show up to meetings, whether they're informal or formal, with an open mind where we're actually actively listening to the other person. We're not making assumptions about how they're showing up or about the issue that we're discussing. We're actually able to remain objective and I guess, tapping into that emotional intelligence that all good leaders have. So that would be my top tip, to suspend judgment.
I absolutely love that. And as you were talking about it, I was getting excited thinking, imagine if they're just the 2 or 3 things you do. More transparency, consistency, and then you suspend your judgment. Could you imagine the impact that would then have in your relationship with not just your team members, but also your peers and your colleagues and your leaders as well? So there's so much more we can do to talk about trust. So why don't you come back for our next Take Your Cue as we continue the conversation?
Great. Thanks, Mel. Thanks to our viewers.